Welcome to the Fallen State. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you all so much for being with me. Remember, you can support the Fallen State by becoming a member right there on the YouTube channel and locals.com. And get your Punchies coffee. I have my own coffee. What now? Get your own coffee. Go to jesseleepeterson.shop. jesseleepeterson.shop. I have with me today Mark and Erica Gerson. Mark is an investor, author, philanthropist, and the host of the Rabbi's Husband podcast. And he is joined by his wife, Rabbi Erica Gerson. She is the co-founder and chairman of several companies and organizations, including the United what, Erica?
I think the bios got mixed up.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Tell me
That's
about
Mark.
Well, I'm she is. I'm the co-founder and chairman of United Hatzalah and African Mission Healthcare.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clearing that up for me. And
But she's with me every step of the way, so it'll be good for her.
nice.
It's a good
And
description.
the African Mission Healthcare, which support the work of Christian medical missionaries in Africa. That's a lot. And Mark, you have a brand new book out, God Was Right. And I want to talk to you all about that. So welcome again.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So let me just ask a couple of things. The podcast, Rabbi's Husband, what's that about?
So I did that podcast for a few years, and I am the rabbi's husband. It's the proudest thing I am, is Erica's husband, and she's the rabbi. And I interviewed lots of people from all walks of life about their favorite Bible verse.
Oh, okay. And Erica, you're the first female rabbi I ever heard of. How did that happen? Are you like a real rabbi, or?
I am a real ordained rabbi. In most movements of Judaism, women are ordained and have been for a few decades. The Orthodox, it's still very, very uncommon. But yes, there are many female rabbis, but I'm delighted to be the first one that you personally know.
Amazing. And so, were you ordained by other male rabbis?
In my community, the ordination happens through a school that we attend, and the leader of the school at the time officially ordains you, but it's really through the school. So I was in the Reform movement, which is Hebrew Union College.
That's amazing. I've never heard of a female rabbi. This is new for me.
Well, you got to come over for Shabbat dinner in New York.
Evidently. Amazing.
We would love that.
And your book, God Was Right. What was that? What's that about, Mark?
So the question I ask is, what kind of book is the Bible? And the Bible is not a history book. It's not a science book. It's not a cookbook. It's a guidebook, which offers highly practical and always applicable guidance for all things in all eras, including our day. And so what I wanted to see is the guidance the Bible offers true, false, or is it merely interesting that's true in some places and maybe anachronistic in others? And so I mapped how the Bible guides us on 36 different subjects to what modern social science says about those subjects. And what I've discovered is that every single piece of guidance in the Bible, from how many times you should go on dates before you get married, to what you should wear in the morning, to how you should think about diversity and anti-fragility and routine, every single thing the Bible says is true.
Amazing. And so, are you a Christian?
No, we're Jewish.
And so, why did you read the Bible instead of the Jewish book?
Well, the Bible it's the Torah. The Bible is the Jewish book. It's our great book. I focused the book on what Christians call the Old Testament, what we call the Torah, which is Genesis through Deuteronomy, and then I brought in some subsequent sources, but most of it is just straight out of the Bible.
That's amazing. And Erica, you read the Bible as well?
Yeah, just to clarify, when we talk about the Bible, you guys might call it the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. So in the Jewish faith, we also call it the Torah, The Torah is just what we call the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And then we have several books after that, which I believe you all call the Old Testament. So that's the totality of our Bible. Everything after that, we might read in a scholarly way out of interest, but that's not part of our religious text.
Oh, I got you. And so do you teach or read the New Testament?
Not frequently.
And why not?
It's just, it for us, it's part of a different faith tradition. So we might look at it for history or comparative religion, but not as our book that we have as a part of our relationship with God and the Jewish people.
Oh, I see. And Mark, you don't read the New Testament either, right?
No, there's wisdom in it, of course, great wisdom in it. And I've talked about it with lots of our, Erica and I have a lot, we are really blessed with lots of evangelical Christian friends. And we've talked about it with them. But when it comes to studying, there is so much in the Jewish corpus to study. We got to study the Torah. We got to study the prophets. We got to study the Talmud, which is enormous. And we got to study other kinds of books like Ethics of Our Fathers and lots of other things. So we focus on the Jewish texts, but we enjoy learning about the New Testament from our Christian friends.
Amazing. Do you guys have children?
We got 4.
Oh, nice. I'm interested in that because I noticed in the Christian world, women are not allowed to be preachers and prophet and all that stuff. And because women were not created to lead, they were created to follow. Erica, do you follow your husband or does he follow you?
I follow her.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know what I'd do without her. I mean, she gives me guidance in anything and everything, and I am blessed to be able to follow her.
So, Erica, how is that for you, your husband following you rather than leading you, knowing the order of God?
Well, in the Jewish faith, we focus on the description of the first couple, the first creation story, where it says that it wasn't good for man to be alone,
right.
And God decides that God should make a helper. And the Hebrew, which Mark might be looking up right now, is a helpmate against him. And so right. Our concept of marriage is that, and life is that it's best to find a partner who can be a strong person to support you, right? When you put something up against, sometimes it's a support, sometimes it's a push. And that in that relationship, we find not only our love and faith, but our relationship with God.
And that's right. And I'd also point to the story of Abraham and Sarah, where God comes to Abraham and says, do what Sarah tells you to do.
Amazing. And so how do you deal with God telling the woman to obey her husband and that the order of God in Christ and man over woman, and the women over children, led by the man, but over the children? What do you guys do with that?
Well, that's not in the Jewish Bible. That's not in the Jewish tradition.
Oh, because it's part of the New Testament, huh?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, there's nothing in the Hebrew Bible or subsequent Jewish teachings which tell the man to or tell the woman to obey her husband.
And so I have so much I want to ask you guys about, so I'm gonna move a little faster.
Great.
What I don't understand how you do that, Mark, that you follow a woman. How do you do that and have a good conscience, clear conscience? Right.
Well, I mean, well, I think what Erica said about Adam and Eve is right. Is that and well, it's what Erica said, but she's quoting the Bible. I mean, and what the Bible says is God creates Eve, and He says, "I will make a help against you."
I know, but not a leader. He didn't make her the leader. Adam was over Eve, and Eve was, even in the Old Testament, God made Eve because He wanted to make some children. So He made this woman so they could have children, right? But He said to Eve that this is your husband and you must obey him.
Well, God gave Eve to Adam to alleviate his loneliness, because God said it's not good for man to be alone, and that's because God saw that Adam was with the animals in nature, but He said, you're alone. It is not good. And the Bible only says it is not good to be alone twice. One to Adam, and he gives Adam a wife or a help against yourself. And then God says it again, or Jethro, who was the Gentile beloved father-in-law of Moses, tells Moses, what you are doing is not good. And what Moses is doing is leading alone. So the Bible tells us it's not good to be alone. But when we read the story of early Genesis and it describes Eve, or wife, as a help against you, that's a pretty profound description. And I think what it says is that, if someone is a help against you, a loving help against you for life, like that's somebody that you should take very seriously and probably follow. But it's not really a matter of leading and following. It's a marriage in the Torah context. It's a really deep, abiding, and eternal partnership between the husband and the wife. So it's not like one leads the other.
That's amazing. One other thing about this, Erica, how do you deal with Mark when he tells you his problems?
How do I deal with Mark when he tells his problems?
Right.
Well,
you know how women look to the man to guide her through her problems, and the man looked to God. So now that Mark has accepted you as the head, how do you deal with him when he's telling you his problem? What's that like for you?
It just sounds like we have very different models of our marriages. So it's really not it's not our model that one has the relationship with God and one has the answers and one has the questions, which is very symbiotic. And I think I try to deal with him the way he deals with me. I bring him my problems, he brings me his, and we try to work constructively. Sometimes what you need is just someone to listen. Sometimes you need someone to be a thought partner. Sometimes you need someone to say, I think you might have this wrong and want to reframe it. And we think, and I think, relevant to one of your passions of how we move forward as a country, is that you have to have constructive dialogue with everyone in your life and speak truths even when they're uncomfortable. So that's the kind of marriage that we try to have.
That's amazing. And if Mark were to tell you, honey, you can't work anymore, you need to stay home and raise my children for me, would you say, okay, I'll stay home?
Well, that's the way it worked out in our household. But if Mark communicated with me just like that, I'm not sure that it would be a match. It's kind of hard for me to imagine because for us, it's always been a conversation and a shared enterprise and partnership. So it's just a little bit of a different way of operating.
That's amazing. And so, Mark, what's important to you?
Well, a lot of things. I would say first and foremost is Erica and the 4 children we're blessed with. Also, the 2 charities I chair and the one I co-chair, and my businesses, which enable us to fund the charities. But it's really these, it's the 3 charities that I would say but it's really we, because Erica's every bit as much involved in all of them as I am. So the 3 charities we chair or co-chair together.
Amazing. And do you have perfect peace?
What a good question. I would say yes, absolutely.
And how about you, Erica?
With Erica. I mean, yeah. So we have perfect peace in the home. Now, of course, in the Jewish tradition, you strive for peace, but you never get it, because what it means to be a Jew, and we get this from the story of Jacob, is to struggle. I mean, when God changes Jacob's name to Israel, he says, "You have struggled with man and God and have prevailed." So we're always struggling, and there's always another problem to solve, and another challenge to confront and to deal with, and so we're always struggling to make a better world. So we're at perfect peace in our marriage, but when it comes to outside of the marriage, no, we're not at perfect peace.
And how about you, Erica? As a rabbi, do you have perfect peace?
I was intrigued that Mark answered that so quickly, but I think you also, Mark, in your answer scratched the surface that I have a hard time saying anything is already perfect. I think in Judaism,
I think you're perfect.
Always in process. We're always in process.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the compliment, Mark, but I think we're perfectly imperfect as our ancestors were in the Bible. Nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes, and it's how we pick up and continue to move forward. And I don't think that God is seeking perfection. God is seeking us to always improve in that way.
And when you were responding about do you have perfect peace or not, I didn't hear what you said because Mark interrupted, but do you have perfect peace, Erica?
I would not describe having perfect peace. I would say I feel, in Hebrew, the word peace means wholeness. And so I feel a great wholeness in my life, in that I have a life of deep meaning and many blessings, but I also feel that there is so much work to be done in the world. There's so much that's not yet perfected. We use the Hebrew word tikkun, to make repairs. And our understanding is that our task in this world is to be like God and partner with God in continuing to find places where we can make tikkun, where we can make repairs and improve the world. So until the time of the Messiah, we're not there yet. And our job is to see what can we do in partnership with God day by day to improve the world. And so in that sense, I can't have perfect peace because we're not there yet.
But God sent his son that you may have peace. And when he was done with the Old Testament, there was this New Testament where everything is done. You now have perfect peace. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Everything is completed because of the Son. And I know that to be true for a fact. Why don't you have perfect peace? Especially being a rabbi, how are you going to teach someone about God and perfect love if you don't have the peace yourself?
I think we just have a different outlook here.
Oh, I see. Do you want to respond to that, Mark?
What's that?
How can
Do you want to respond?
Yeah,
I
asked how can she teach people about God if she doesn't have perfect peace?
Well, in the Jewish tradition, you never have perfect peace, and I think we see this in the story of Moses, where Moses is the great leader. He leads the Jews out of slavery in Egypt and to the Promised Land, but never gets to the Promised Land. And I think that's a real metaphor or guidance for how we should think about these things. Is you never get to the Promised Land, but you keep working, you keep trying, and you set a goal that you can't accomplish in your lifetime. And but you advance towards that goal and pass it off to the next generation. But that's not a description of perfect peace.
So
That's the life of Moses.
And so the Jews don't expect to ever have perfect peace. They're going to live a whole life in misery.
No, it's not misery. It's not misery. The opposite of perfect peace is the opposite. I mean, I'm the happiest. I mean, I have the best wife ever. I mean, no, it's not misery. But the opposite of perfect peace is not misery. It's struggle, and we can find joy in the struggle and joy in the little victories and even sometimes the setbacks that we have in the struggle. So we find joy in the struggle, and we find joy in the fact that we are struggling to prepare the world for the Messiah. But no, the opposite of perfect peace, I don't think, is misery. Yeah,
and so when you say Messiah, are you talking about Christ?
No.
Who are you talking about?
We Jews and Christians have a lot in common, but we also have differences, and best friends can and do have differences. And we think the Messiah has not come yet, but we're preparing. That we view our role as to prepare the world for the Messiah.
So that's why the Jews don't have peace. They're still waiting for the Son, and the Messiah, and the Messiah has already come and gone. Is that right?
Well, I mean, when the Messiah comes, we'll see. But until the Messiah comes, we have a big job to do, which is to struggle to make the world a better place. So no, in the Jewish tradition and Jewish thinking, there's no perfect peace, and we don't want perfect peace. We want to struggle. We want challenges.
Wow.
And we want to advance the world. But you can't do that if you're at perfect peace.
And Erica, you don't want perfect peace either?
We would love to get there as a world, but I think we sometimes talk about that the idea of one person. So I don't know what semantics exactly it means to you. When I think of someone at perfect peace, I sort of imagine someone up on the mountaintop meditating and just kind of blissed out. And that for us is not a successful life.
And that's
We
not
feel
peace
called
either.
by God to engage in the world. I mean, you mentioned African Mission Healthcare. We're acutely aware that there are people that are as much the children of God as the 4 children in our household who are waiting at this very moment for surgeries that they need for their life. So when I think of the term perfect peace, I don't know how I could have perfect peace if I know that there's a child who doesn't yet have the medical care that they need and deserve. So that's kind of, when we think about what that definition would be, it feels like saying that there isn't work to be done. So I would not want to be living in an illusion that the work is all done and that I can feel good and complacent. I want to have that drive to improve.
That's amazing. That's mind-blowing to me. I would hate to live, I mean, I can't even imagine doing it, but I would hate to live the rest of my life without perfect peace, because people who lack perfect peace are miserable. They're like sad and lonely and depressed, suicidal, worried, stressed. Who want to live in that kind of hell the rest of their life? And why is there a God that is not going to bring you that? You might as well stay with Satan if you're still going to have the same misery with God. That makes sense?
Well, we're not miserable. I mean, I think, in fact, just as an example, in Israel, where there's certainly not, there's neither, interpersonal peace nor actual peace at this moment. It's still one of the happiest countries in the world when they do these surveys. Right. I don't know who does them, but you see it on the list because there's a sense of purpose. So I think our sense of purpose, our sense of calling to be partners with God gives us great wholeness and fulfillment. So if that's what you would call perfect peace, then yes, we have that.
That's amazing.
But I think we're not familiar with calling that perfect peace.
You mentioned you're a Christian medical missionary in Africa. You're helping the blacks. And I've been wondering, I do a radio show every day as well, and I've been doing it for 35 years. And I've noticed, because it used to not be this way at one time, but I've noticed that all over the world, the blacks are screwed up. What's wrong with the blacks? And they see it's like now it's so bad that most human beings have black fatigue. They don't want to be bothered with the blacks anymore around the world. What's wrong with the blacks? Since you work with them, what's wrong with them?
Oh, well, I wouldn't agree with the presumption or the assumption at all, really. So
what do you mean?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, I can't answer that because I don't agree with the presumption.
Erica, what's wrong with the blacks?
I am going to follow my husband on this one. The question doesn't really work for me. I think
but
there
you work with
communities
them
all over the world where leadership is faulty, and I think that there are certainly messages in various societies, including here in America, that can be unhelpful to certain populations. But I don't think that there's something quote unquote wrong with the blacks. But if you want to get into the other specifics, we could try to figure it out. But I don't think
there's anything wrong at all. And
really, and so if that's true, why are they always on the totem pole, begging and blaming and violent? And I've noticed that around the world, and I noticed that around the world, they have not done any, like the blacks are supposed to be in leadership role, the government, the educated ones. They have not done anything good that help society overall. They have nothing to offer. Why is that?
Oh, I disagree with that presumption too. I mean, I think some of our heroes and some of the people we look up to the most and want our kids to be like are black. And
like who?
I mean, so many.
Name one.
I could name dozens. I wouldn't want to leave anybody out.
Richie Torres.
Who?
Richie Torres is a good start.
Yeah, among 50, 100 others. I mean, there's so many that we want our kids to be like. And I mean, these are people we know and people that we know of, and some of the people we admire the most, and admire to the point that we want our kids to emulate them.
But why is it not known that Richard Torres, whomever you mentioned, that blacks have not done anything? It's not anywhere out there. You can't find it. That they have not done anything overall to enhance society, but only destroy it.
Well,
You know-
again, I just disagree with that presumption.
Yeah.
Yes, Erica?
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
So you guys are not aware of it or what?
Well, we just disagree with the assumption.
But not that it's not true, you just disagree.
Well, we disagree because we think it's not true.
Oh, I when I was growing up, Christians and Jews were one. The Christian knew that if it wasn't for Judaism, there would be no Christianity. So there was a lot of love and respect, for the most part, when I was growing up, between the Christians and the Jews. But nowadays, that has changed, where not all, of course, not all, but the Christians are hating the Jews, and the Jews and the Christians are fighting. Why is that? What changed?
About the well, I mean, I would just say that some of our closest friends, and again, people we look up to the most, are Christians. Some are Jews, and the friendship that we've experienced personally, and as the Jewish people from so many Christians, has been both very fulfilling to us and of world historic importance.
But Erica, why the big change, the fight between the Christians and Jews now that was not there for the most part years ago? What happened? What are the people telling you?
Again, not to be too argumentative here, but I think we see maybe the past and the present differently. I think there's been periods in history, repeated periods in history, when Christianity was the source of great sorrow and suffering for the Jewish people, and there have been things that have improved in recent times. And then you're probably right. There are also some elements in the Christian world that are in less good standing with the Jews now. But it's hard to say that that's just one. That's the full thread. I think there's been a lot of times in history that were bad, and modern times that can be good as well as bad.
Are you guys conservative Jews or liberal Jews?
We're just Jews.
No
We
politics.
don't really that way.
You don't get
Just
involved.
Jewish.
Oh, you didn't get involved with politics.
Well, I mean, when it comes to being Jews, as Erica said, we're Jews, and
Did y'all vote for the Great White Hope?
I'm not sure what that is.
Do you know who it is, Mark?
yeah, but we're not talking about politics. I mean, it's to your question, we're just Jews. We're proud Jews. We try to raise our kids to be good Jews, and we're blessed with lots of friends and people we admire who are Jews and who are Christians.
So in case Erica, you don't know, I'm talking about the Great White Hope, Donald Trump.
Oh, I never heard that term.
Now that you hear,
I think I think that there's so much that we want to share from Mark's book and the wisdom of our tradition, that would be a more productive conversation to have than politics. People of good faith and conscience can have differences on which politicians they think will be best for our future, but I think that's not really an area of interest for this conversation.
What do you guys think about the anti love for the Jew? There's a lot in America, especially, but not only. There's been in these college campuses and places, there's been a lot of attacks upon the Jews. What do you think? Why do you think that is happening? What do you think about it?
I think it's been deeply, deeply troubling. There is, for anyone who wants to learn more about what's been happening on the college campuses, I just saw a great documentary with my children. I wouldn't necessarily watch it with young children. It's called October Hate with the number 8. And it is about the horrific response after Israel was attacked and its people were kidnapped, which largely centered on the campuses. And I think what we're seeing now with violence against Jews in America is a global intifada, a global violent uprising. And I think that we can look at our college campuses as a big part of the problem of what they allowed to fester, to multiply. And all of our politicians have failed us by not in implementing mask bans, and our college leaders failed us by not differentiating between free speech, which is incredibly important, and hate speech and incitement. So I think there's great work to be done, and I hope that your audience will step forward. What we need is partners who, when Jews are not in the spaces, will step forward and say, hey, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
There needs to be no more demonization. Jews are just human beings like everyone else. Because once you allow people to dehumanize, then any story is believable, just like all of these crazy lies that are being put into the press and into our social media and spreading like wildfire. The only reason that these incredulous stories are taken on as fact is because people have already accepted the dehumanization of Jews. So I guess that would be my final word to your listeners as our time wraps up, that I would very much hope that people would stand up all the more so when there are no Jews in the room and say, these are children of God, and they are no different from you and me, and the demonization has got to stop. And if we want to be a safe and secure and holy people and country, we have to stand up for everyone, including the Jewish people.
The one thing
Yes.
that shocked me, is that I never imagined that one day in my country that I would hear, knowing that the Allahu Akbar people see us as the big Satan and Israel as the little Satan, right? And they want to deceive the Christians and Jews in order to destroy them. I never imagined that one day in America, somehow or another, our enemies would move in and they would shout out loud, death to America, death to Israel, that they would burn the American flag right in front of our faces and put up the Allahu Akbar flag. I didn't think that that could happen, and I didn't think that America would allow it to happen if something like that even attempted to happen. I'm stunned by that. And why did that happen, Mark? How come America allowed that to happen?
Well, I would just, I think in closing, I think the one thing we can really focus on is there's been a lot of anti-Semitism, more than we ever would have expected.
Right.
But I would also say that we've been really blessed by the friendship of so many Christians who've really, particularly the evangelical community, who's really stood up with us.
Are you stunned, as I am, that the college allows this kind of stuff? The universities in America allows this to happen?
Yeah, yes, we are, and we were stunned by the anti-Semitism that was rampant on college campuses after October 7th, and yeah, absolutely.
What's the solution? Either one of you, what's the solution?
I think our time is up.
Not yet. It's not up yet. Where you going? Don't be trying to run. What the?
Oh, no, it's okay. Yeah. We got about 5 more minutes.
No, we were scheduled for an hour.
Oh, I thought it was a half hour.
No.
Oh.
What's the solution, Mark?
Well, I don't know if there's a solution. I mean, I think it's, for good people to stand up.
And what do you have to say to that, Erica?
Yeah, I think that when we are quiet, people start to believe that these radical ideas are the norm. Mark, maybe you want to talk about the studies that you've seen on heavy drinking on college campuses and how what happens when people don't speak up because they think that they're in the minority opinion. And I think that people of good conscience need to begin to speak up. I think for people who haven't wrestled with the concept of Jew hatred and how this new form of it, which is anti-Zionism, plays into that a really useful way for people to begin to think about it is if you take any scenario and replace what they are saying about Jews or behaviors they're doing toward Jews with any other group that normally people don't allow you to treat poorly, it becomes very clear very quickly. So, for example, even though people have strong opinions about the Russia and Ukraine war, you don't see people throwing paint
Right.
on all the Ukrainian restaurants or the Russian restaurants. You don't see schools where those children go being vandalized or threatened. You don't see churches, so and on and on. So you can if you're ever unclear of whether what you're seeing is Jew hate or something else, try substituting another group that you wouldn't tolerate being victimized in this way, and it becomes clear really quickly that in fact there is a unique level of tolerance in this country and globally when it comes to harassing Jews. So that would be my first ask to all of your listeners. And I think there is great power in speaking up. And when you speak up, it takes a lot of courage. And then for the next person, it doesn't take quite as much, and the next one even less. And then it just becomes the norm to speak up. And I think we've had too much silence because people don't want to be canceled. And they think that this noise, especially what we see on college campuses and what the mainstream media chooses to amplify, they think that that's the main vision in this country. But Mark and I can personally attest from our friends and the people who've reached out to us that there are many people across all divides who stand with us in the name of truth and tolerance, and we need to just all amplify our voices.
Amazing. When you are helping people in your work over in Africa, what is it that you do exactly?
Well, we partner with Christian missionary doctors at Christian hospitals in Africa to provide clinical care, to build infrastructure, to do training, and sometimes hospital administration. And it's a real blessing for us to be able to work with these Christian missionary doctors and their colleagues in Africa, these great men and women, both and to help both bring care to those in Africa and to create the structures that will enable more care in the years to come.
What do you think about the genocide that's happening in South Africa, where the blacks are destroying the white people?
We don't actually have any work in South Africa. Our work is in East and Central Africa, and
okay.
So again, I don't necessarily agree with that presumption.
And
But
Erica, what do you think about if President Trump brought some white people from South Africa because of the genocide? What do you think about what's happening with the whites in South Africa?
Yeah, I really don't have any expertise in that area, so I would hesitate to weigh in.
Are you guys aware that he brought some white refugees from over there?
I haven't followed that story closely.
Do you know about it, Eric? I mean, what's his name? I
Mark.
forgot. Do you know about it? So neither
I
one.
I really haven't followed it.
But are you aware that he brought white people here from Africa?
I don't know. I don't know much about it, and I only like to speak about things where I have some base of knowledge.
So what's happening over there is the government is taking the land of the whites. They were shouting death to the white people, death to Boer, and they are robbing them, stealing them. They're really being genocide. How do you feel knowing that white people are being under genocide in South Africa? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think I actually I have to be somewhere at 6:40 and 6:42 now. So I guess I got the timing wrong. But
You feel like why are you running, Mark? What's the?
no, I'm not running. I got another
You're
appointment.
totally
so,
running.
No,
And your
not running.
wife see you running. What a beta.
All right. Well, thank you.
Are you gonna run?
No, I have to go. I'm not running. I have to go. But
No, you're running.
All right. Well, thank you.
Erica, what do you think about Mark running?
Unfortunately, this is the day of his book launch, and he's really tightly scheduled, and it's unfortunate that there's an overlap. But we do thank you for your time. So,
Are you
all the
leaving
best.
too? Can we hang
Yeah,
out?
I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah, we have to go to that. We have to go to that lunch. Yeah.
But y'all not even the same city.
Yeah, we are. We're both in New
We
York.
are.
Oh, you are? All right.
Right.
Thank
All the
you.
best.
At least let's do the hot seat.
Oh, we have. Okay.
We've really got to go. It was nice. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. What's amazing? They ran. As much as I love the Jews, they ran. The husband ran.
Yeah, they knew it was for an hour.
Yeah, they knew it was for an hour. We told them it was set up for an hour. That's not true. That Mark ain't got no appointment. What the? Well, anyway, I enjoyed talking to them. I had so much good stuff to ask them because I just want to understand. That's all. I really want understanding. So here's what I recommend. They didn't even do the hot seat. What the? Don't forget to support our work. You can become a member of the Fallen State by going to TheFallenState.tv. And under YouTube there, you can become a member, or locals.com. We got a lot of work to do. And so support us there. Check out our merch, our Pudgy's coffee, books, and everything. We're working hard to make America great again. What the? And if you'd like to see other interesting guests on the show that we have not had yet, contact my producer at TheFallenState.tv. Producer at TheFallenState.tv, and he worked very hard to get the best, or at least interesting guests on. And I'm stunned that the rabbi, let me make sure I get the name right. I'm stunned that Mark and Erica Gerson, the rabbi and her husband, ran. What the? You need perfect peace, and you can have it. All right, I wish you well. Thank you for your support. Bye.